in a boot. Cowboy, grab your feet and set 'em tight. The riding's rough, but the pay is right if you ride 'em. Cowboy, ride 'em, cowboy.
Pass, and with us is Evening Star Production, Danny and Kitty Zelisko. How are you tonight?
Hi, Joel.
Real good.
So you've been doing a lot of different things, and how did you get started? First, we'll start with you, Danny, in concert productions.
By mistake, actually. It's like wanting to be involved in the business and just kind of working the way up from working on stages or unloading equipment and trying to think that one could do it better than somebody else, or that there was room, like for, instance in Phoenix, for another promoter to bring in a different style of stuff that was available at the time I came in, which was mid-'70s.
Now, back early in the early 70s, Barry Fay used to have most of the productions and the concerts wrapped up.
Well, at the time that I started, Doug Clark was doing the bulk of most of the shows because most of the groups were coming in here, this being a growing town at that time, and still is, controlled a lot of the talent through the celebrity theater. And groups would grow from the celebrity into bigger places, and he was just building acts, for somebody else to come in and do in bigger places. So that's where Fayline, or at that time Wolf and Rissmiller, or Fun Productions, all different kinds of companies used to come in here.
So how did a newcomer carve out your niche to being the biggest concert promoter in Arizona?
Persistence and patience and hanging on, and doing whatever it took to stay in it while waiting for that proverbial ship to roll in, which I'm still waiting for.
Right.
But it requires a lot of hanging out and being able to weather a bad show or two or whatever, and be there for the next one, and hopefully that'll take care of any mistakes you might have made in a previous show where you might not have made enough money to pay all your bills.
We had Kitty on previously on a few of our shows, and she was mentioning some of the behind-the-scenes aspects of the entertainers you've dealt with. Who are your idols, the people that you really expected to be different than how they were in person?
Most of the acts are pretty much what you would expect. I mean, you expect reasonable human beings that are getting paid a great deal of money for, a good night's work. Everybody started at the same place, which is at the lower end of the totem pole as far as they played clubs. I booked club shows, and a lot of us have grown up together, by that way, like Pat Benatar or Police, or even just recently we did the Hooters, in a club that one day I think they could be a big act. So it's a matter of being able to work all different areas of the business as opposed to just saying, well, I can only work with a Barry Manilow or a Billy Joel or something like that.
Now, Kitty, you do the smaller scale productions and then work with Danny on the larger scale productions. How did you divide that up?
Well, I enjoy working on some of the things like the festivals and art fairs here in town that employ local musicians, statewide musicians, and frankly, it's something that I've sort of developed by myself, and I get a lot of support from Danny and from the rest of the employees at Evening Star. By support, I mean that they actually show up at the art fairs and the Oktoberfest and come down and help me out and just make sure everybody gets treated right and treated well. And I enjoy doing it. I would like to do more of the fairs and festivals and things that start at 10 a.m. and are over by midnight instead of ones that start at 8 and are over at 5 a.m.
Do any of the stars that you deal with, have they become personal friends that you bring back and
Sure.
you're in contact with?
Yeah.
Yeah, after you work with people, after a while, like certain acts will sometimes note the extra niceness that's around or the extra care that's taken of them, and they look forward to that. And it helps develop a standard, hopefully of excellence, so that they can see that in other cities that they go to, with different promoters. And sometimes it's worked to our advantage where we've been able to pick up dates with acts in other cities where maybe they hadn't played before, or had played for somebody else that didn't take as good a care of them. They say, well, why don't we do a Tucson, or why don't we do Albuquerque together? Why don't we go up to Vegas? So we've branched out into a lot of different states. A lot of times when we won't have shows, every day or every night or a few in a certain week, a lot of times what people don't realize is we're doing shows elsewhere with people that have already played. For instance, here we're doing Motley Crue in Vegas, but they've already played through here. So as the groups go around, we end up working with them in various areas as well as Phoenix.
What is one of your most interesting experiences?
Which one?
We've had some real good ones. I think the business has been very good to us. When you, in response to the question about people that surprise you, I think that, like the recent People magazine article, that cover story that was just so pitiful about has rock gone too far, and the whole ball of wax about, a few prominent ladies in Washington getting their undies in a bundle, if we can say that on TV, and over some things. The public dictates what's gonna sell and what is, and I don't care if it's pet rocks or rock and roll. And I think in terms of what, our most memorable experiences have been good ones, which really doesn't make good press or good TV interviews, because
people want to
you know what I mean? We really like some of the people we work with, like Vince Neil from Motley Crue is a real nice guy. I mean, people don't want to hear that from me, but he's a very nice young man.
They'd rather see the picture that was in People.
They'd rather see the smutty picture.
Or they'd rather hear about the wars between you and Fayline and the different concerts.
And there's no more war between us and Fayline than there are between a Pip Printers and an Alpha Graphics in this town. I mean, it's just business.
Yeah, it's just business.
And it makes for lousy interviews, but we're very happy. This has been a good town to us. This is a good rock and roll town, a music town. We got lots of good bands. And, part of our appeal is that we are what we call a small mom and pop organization. We really aren't, but we are. We go to all our own shows. We have excellent help. We have people that work for us and with us that Danny and I could not do it alone. Everybody from our caterers to VIP security in this town, to our own employees, really look after the artists. They try and treat them like you treat people on this show. You take better care of them, treat them with respect. If they act like jerks, they must be having a personal problem. It's nothing you did.
And you also have a television show on American Cable, or Times Mirror. And how did you get started on that?
They came to me and asked about doing some advertising with them, and said I could buy a certain amount of time, for a certain amount of money. So we ended up, I co-host it with whoever ends up showing up that week. It's pretty loose, but basically the whole format is to show videos of either up-and-coming artists or predominantly artists that we're bringing to town. So in essence, it's a 30-minute commercial that we get to have a little bit of fun with.
But you then join the ranks of local producers trying to make a local origination channel work in a market.
It's not easy.
Doesn't seem to, they don't seem to care.
It's not easy, because there's a lot of people are so used to going to 3, 5, 10, or 12 or whatever, or 15. They just have to, I find that a lot of people find the show just by switching around when those stations, as they generally do, let them down.
Well, I appreciate you being a part of the show, and I'm looking forward to working with you and Kitty again in the future.
Hey, if we have any smut, you'll be the first to know. We'll be in there to tell you if it does come down. I hate to be so boring, but sometimes
No, you're not boring at all. Thank you for being a part.
All right.
Stay tuned. There's more to come.